You're tuned in to the Final Takeaways podcast edition. Guyana's Vice President Bharrat Jagdeo has ordered the police and the Guyana Revenue Authority to launch an investigation into the alleged gold smuggling scheme involving the Mohameds that allegedly operated under the nose of the Guyana Gold Board.
The GRA, the police, must immediately start the investigation of all of those corrupt officials who collaborated, and the Gold Board, who collaborated with the Mohameds in smuggling the gold.
Jagdeo's call to investigate comes about 2 weeks after the U.S. indicted international gold traders Nazar Mohamed and Azruddin Mohamed for a series of alleged crimes. The criminal charges come more than 1 year after the U.S. sanctioned the Mohameds for alleged public corruption involving but not limited to depriving the Guyana government of millions of U.S. dollars in duty, taxes, and royalties on 10,000 kilograms of exported gold. Of course, there's the offense involving the Lamborghini, which Azruddin is alleged to have declared a false value for to avoid paying the proper taxes. The indictment files state that the Mohammeds got help from persons known and unknown, but stop short of naming names. Stay with me because you'll soon discover which officials are accused of participating in the alleged crimes. As of now, Jagdeo wants the investigation to target the quote-unquote corrupt officials, including those at the Guyana Gold Board, as well as GHK Lall, who was once the chairman of the board.
Because he was the chairman of the Gold Board when a lot of the gold was smuggled out.
Today's podcast will proceed against this backdrop. Lall told the media at a press conference yesterday that the government is wrongfully implicating him in the scandal, further stating that the indictment has nothing to do with him, and overall distancing himself from the gold smuggling scandal. Furthermore, he's reminding the public that he had already left the Gold Board and that his time there falls outside of the timeline of the alleged criminal activities by the Mohameds, as stated in court documents. On that note, he sees this as a smear campaign to tarnish his reputation. In his words, this is quote-unquote political persecution.
I am asking myself, and I'm telling the guy who spoke it, from the moment my name gets singled out and mentioned, that now amounts in my book to political persecution, political inquisition, and political oppression. Do that, and it takes a lot of cooperation to do that. Remember that you've got gold to export legitimately pursuant to the Gold Board Act. You bring it to us. You're ready to pay the royalties and taxes. You bring it to us as the first step. We are the first line of information. Gold smuggling, the idea here is to avoid the royalty and taxes. So you could have cut us out of it. But how do you get that task with the appropriate stamps, whether it's customs or whoever, past the airport or other ports of exit in this country?
He says he welcomes the local investigation ordered by Jagdeo, but he wants the government to go a little further and include the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Lall thinks involving the FBI would provide greater transparency. We're going to look at relevant dates and timeline in the indictment paperwork, as well as the press release outlining the reasons the Mohammeds were sanctioned, to see if they tell a different story. We did spot a discrepancy with the dates, which we'll point out. It may or may not have an impact on this case, as far as it relates to calls to investigate GHK Lall. Needless to say, there is a level of semantics going on. The material dates regarding Lall's chairmanship depend on whether we're referring to dates in the indictment or the sanction documents. And of course, you're welcome to share your view in the comment section. By the way, I hope you were able to hear Lall clearly. Due to the quality of the audio, I had trouble hearing him. Touching on the issue of gold smuggling specifically, Lall acknowledged that there were rumors of gold smuggling during his time, but there were no solid leads. Though names were called, Lall says the Mohameds' names never came up. GHK Lall held office from 2017 to 2020. Dr. Gobin Ganga took over as board chairman in late 2020. Upon checking last evening, the Guyana Gold Board's website still lists Ganga as the chairman. Now, let's get to the U.S. indictment and the sanctions placed on the Mohameds. We'll start with the latest development, which is the October 2, 2025 indictment. We'll then work our way backward to last year when the Mohameds got slapped with sanctions. To keep in line with our focus on GHK Lall's time at the Gold Board and the timeline of the alleged crimes committed by the Mohameds in the U.S., we will focus on some material dates. In summary, both father and son, Nazar and Azruddin Mohamed, have been charged with 11 counts of conspiracy to commit wire or mail fraud and money laundering in violation of U.S. federal laws as detailed in the indictment records. The Mohameds allegedly committed mail or wire fraud on the following dates: October 2021, November 2021, January 2023, February 2023, by emailing a company in Miami requesting a shipment of 165 kilograms of gold from Miami to Dubai on all 4 of those dates in 2021 and 2023. But it doesn't end there. They are also being charged with wire and mail fraud in relation to the alleged fraudulent reuse of Guyana customs declarations and seals on shipments from Guyana through Miami to Dubai and back through Miami to Guyana. In some cases, the shipments were actually empty boxes with the seal issued by the Guyana Gold Board and the Guyana Revenue Authority. The Department of Justice, the DOJ, says the Mohameds did this with the intent to defraud the Guyana government of taxes and duties on the sale and export of gold for the purpose of increasing their own wealth. These offenses regarding reusing the false seals and declaration documents were allegedly committed in January 2021, December 2021, April 2022, and June 2023. Note: according to U.S. investigators, the Mohameds were able to carry out these criminal acts by conspiring with known and unknown individuals and bribing government and customs officials. Also note, at no point did these documents, the indictment and the sanction documents, say that they bribed Gold Board officials. In any case, based on these dates, GHK Lall had already left the Gold Board, and Dr. Gobin Ganga had taken up office as chairman of the said board. We're presenting the facts as they appear in the indictment. The other thing is, you can't argue with the facts. You can't argue with the dates. Dates don't lie. And you'll understand what we mean in a moment. The U.S. announced sanctions against the Mohameds on June 11, 2024. On the same day, the feds seized a shipment of gold bars at the Miami International Airport belonging to the Mohameds. That shipment is worth over $500 million US. Let that resonate for a moment. It was a multi-million US business. The Guyanese businessmen, who are owners of a gold trading business called Mohamed's Enterprise, which were told Azruddin later on renamed as Confidential Cambio, were sanctioned based on a lengthy investigation that uncovered alleged criminal activities which went on for years, sometime between 2017 and June 11, 2024, in relation to gold exports from Guyana. And of course, there's the alleged crime involving the Lamborghini. The United States cited mainly a $50 million U.S. tax fraud against the Guyana government in relation to 10,000 kilograms of gold, exported gold that was not properly declared to customs and is therefore considered smuggled out of the country. The sanctioned documents broadly mention money laundering and bribery by the Mohameds, to hide their alleged involvement in criminal activities. According to OFAC, quote, between 2019 and 2023, Mohamed's enterprise omitted more than 10,000 kilograms of gold from import and export declarations and avoided paying more than $50 million in duty taxes to the Guyana government. Note that the records do not distinctly say that, quote-unquote, gold board officials were involved. But herein lies the catch. Lall was chairman between 2017 and 2020. This lands him within a part of the wider timeline, which the U.S. documented as 2017 to 2024. I said it before, you can't argue with dates. You simply cannot. Here's the final takeaway from our point of view. Even though the Gold Board and its officials are not explicitly named in the indictment or sanction documents, both sets of documents allege that Guyana government and customs officials participated in the scheme, which in effect cheated the government out of millions of US dollars in taxes and royalties. To add to that, while the indictment include criminal offenses dated between 2021 and 2023, the investigation that led to the sanctions date back to acts committed between 2017 to 2024. GHK Lall, for all intents and purposes, was very much one of the Gold Board chairmen during the wider timeline. We're going to leave that right here. Feel absolutely free to share your view in the comment section. Talk to you later.